many outtakes.
Stop laughing at me. That's not the word I meant to use. I meant to use a
y'all.
different word. Hey, y'all. This is Ryan.
And I'm Robyn.
And I used the wrong word in a sentence a second ago. It's not my fault.
Awfully eclectic.
I am awfully eclectic. Yes, I am. It's not the word I meant to use.
What's going on in your world?
Getting ready to. I'm going to be absent for a little bit. I'm going on a little field trip for a few days.
I know. I'm so excited.
I can tell
Not
you
that you're
are.
going to be. Not that you're going to be absent.
Well,
I'm excited about what you're bringing back.
oh, that's okay. So hopefully, I'm bringing back a imperial F-ton of elk meat. That's the goal, anyway.
However, I'm going to miss you terribly while you're gone.
I'm leaving you the Glock 19 and all of the magazines.
I'm just going to sit by the door and wait for you.
All I'm taking is the 44 Magnum. That's it. That's it. That's all I got.
I know.
And that's for mountain lions and bear. You know,
I have the Glock 19 and I have the dogs.
you're going to be fine.
And I have the kid who's also a crack shot, so we'll be good.
Yeah.
Have you seen that boy shoot?
I've seen him shoot. I took him to shoot, yes.
Yeah. We should take him to
He
Fighting pistol.
He needs some
Seriously, we should
training.
take him to
Yeah.
Fighting Pistol.
Oh, yeah. He'd eat that up.
Oh, they'd eat him up. They'd have like
No, I've seen guys younger than him in class. The first time
I know.
I took
They
a
said
fighting
they had
pistol
a
class,
14-year-old.
we had a 60. Yeah, well, there's a 16-year-old in my class. We're talking about James Yeager's fighting pistol class for tactical response. Massive shout out to those guys. But
Hey,
yeah.
Tim.
Hey Tim, saw you tonight.
Hey, Thad.
Hey Thad. But we are talking about that, but that's not what we meant to be talking about. We kind of stumbled into this because Ryan used the wrong word in the sentence. Ryan's been drinking a little bit.
Wait, let me start over. What's going on in your world?
Oh, well, thank you for asking. That's not planned at all. So RBG's memorial service at the Supreme Court itself was today. She was laid in repose in the Supreme Court itself, which is actually, if you think about it, it's kind of rare. There's presidents obviously get that honor to be, they get the big deal. A few congressmen do, not everybody.
She's a first, though.
McCain did, and in recent history, McCain did, and then John Lewis was laid out in the rotunda of the Capitol. I don't remember the last Supreme Court, because the last Supreme Court
She's the
justice
first woman, right?
let me think about that a minute before I say anything.
Okay, if someone knows differently, correct me.
Yeah,
But I think she's
Senator Day O'Connor died at home. I think I'm almost positive, and then RBG dies.
I think that
in office,
Ginsburg
technically.
I think Ginsburg is the first woman. And
Yeah,
if I'm wrong,
it's
please
quite
correct
possible.
me. I'll own up to it.
Today was that. So
Yeah.
that's going on. So kind of keeping up with that a little bit.
Well, and you want to be respectful, even if you disagree with some of her decisions, which I know I have seen crazy stuff that I'm like, oh, she had nothing to do with that. Now you're just like repeating Facebook memes.
Is it QAnon stuff?
Oh, yeah. But
I told you about the sticker I saw going down the highway,
White
right?
Rabbit, yeah.
Yeah, I saw my first White Rabbit sticker.
I know.
Stop, people. For real,
Down
stop.
the rabbit hole. But even if you disagree with her, you have to have some respect. And
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the thing. Okay, so you may not like the policies, decisions, or whatever
although I stand by, if you're a woman and you have a checking account, you should be glad.
Well, no, I'm not just talking about her. I'm talking about like a president, and I'm talking about a generic president, regardless of party. Yes,
show respect.
Correct, absolutely, 100%. One of these days, we're going to lose Jimmy Carter. Realistically, he's in his 90s, I think.
Is he in his 90s?
Probably one of the more decent ex-presidents.
He may not go down as the best president by any means, but as far as a human being, he is probably one of the best humans to walk
He would go
the face
as far as best human beings that were also holding the office of president, probably top 3.
Which may be why he wasn't the best president.
Right. Exactly right. Anyway, sooner or later, we're going to lose him.
And we should show
And it doesn't matter what party
respect.
you're in, you need to show respect.
Yeah.
And not make his funeral a political theater.
Are we going there?
No, you can't if you want to. It's been done before. I'm just saying, have a funeral and let's not talk about what's going on today.
So RBG, they're already looking at announcing her replacement. What, by the end of the week?
I know, I got a phone call today.
Oh,
Yeah.
you tell.
I do. Yeah,
Mr. Davis?
Ivanka called me.
Shut the front door.
I said, listen, Ivanka. She won't stop calling me.
No, who called you?
Nobody. I'm kidding.
Oh, my God. No, so what's her
But there's
name?
no real requirement to be SCOTUS. I could be SCOTUS. There's nothing in the
you don't have to
Constitution that
be.
says you have to be a judge or even a lawyer.
That is frightening.
Well, it's
Frightening.
You could pick some dude off the street. So yeah,
Like Amy Coney Barrett.
Amy Coney Barrett, my girl from Notre Dame.
Yeah. Have you?
I do.
People of Praise? People of Praise. They have handmaids.
So
Literal handmaids. Did you know that they inspired Atwood's Handmaid's Tale? And if anybody hasn't read A Handmaid's Tale or watched this...
Is it the same as the TV show?
So the TV show is based on the book.
I know that the TV show exists, but I've never seen it.
It's actually a really well done show, but it should terrify you. And the fact that Atwood literally based her book on People of Praise should also terrify everyone.
This is 2020, though.
So
We don't see that.
they have handmaids. They have, apparently men have heads and women have handmaids.
And she teaches at Notre Dame, and I lived in South Bend, Indiana for 10 months, and I didn't see a single handmaid person.
Yeah, but that's a group that they belong to, that she and her husband belong to. Okay. So I'm just saying that should be a concern, that she has someone that she answers to.
Would you feel better about it if they were, say, Jesuits or any other order of...
If she has a literal person that she has to answer to for her decisions, I would not want her to be a Supreme Court justice.
That may be true if her husband... I'm getting the feeling, though, that the husband doesn't wear the pants there.
Actually, in their group, the men are definitely the ones that women answer to. They also answer to the handmaid.
Do they have a handmaid? Do we know that this Candace... Excuse me, I'm thinking of the wrong person. Amy Barrett, do they have a handmaid?
She has been confirmed to be a member of People of Praise.
Does she have a handmaid?
No, so handmaids are above. They are who they answer to. So yes, she answers to someone. I'll quote it. I can reference it.
I'm gonna have to let my friends in South Bend, Indiana, that are very well versed in the whole thing of the going-ons of Notre Dame.
Yeah,
chime in and check the math on that.
And let me know if I'm wrong.
Please let me know if that's bullshit.
Yeah,
because
I'm gonna say
I'm gonna go. If she's on the list for SCOTUS, then she's probably not having to answer to somebody like that.
Yeah,
of course. Okay, so
there are lots of other.
In all fairness, though, some of that same stuff was banted about when John F. ran for president, because he was the first ever Catholic, and
that was anti-Catholicism.
That was the anti-Catholicism. There was a lot of that going on.
And actually, Biden would be the second.
Yes, if Biden gets elected, we'll get to that in a second. But back in those days, the question was the U.S. president going to be beholden to the Pope if the Pope gave an order?
Yeah.
That sort of thing. So I am of the opinion that probably not going to fly with this particular Supreme Court nominee.
I think there are lots of other people that would be better choices. I also think
you know who my dream person is? I've got his poster on 2 walls right now in this house, in this room.
I'm sorry, you're breaking up.
Yard signs
you're cutting
are
out.
on the wall in the room we're sitting in. Ted Cruz for SCOTUS 2020.
I'll have to call you back.
What?
No,
call me back. Call me back. You're sitting across from me, madam. So wrong of you.
Oh, Ted Cruz.
Not going to happen. But if I could duplicate Ted Cruz and I could get a second one out of him, it would be perfect. One in the Senate, one in the Supreme Court. It'd be awesome. And then in 2024, one in the White House. That's how I feel about it. You should see the look she's giving me now.
All I can picture was it the Addams Family that had or was it like a Dracula movie?
I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'll have to research a little bit. When I see Ted Cruz, I think of it was the Addams Family, like one of the quirky, weird family members.
Talking about Gomez Addams?
No,
that
not
is so
Gomez.
racist.
He was not so cool. No. No, Ted Cruz could never be Gomez Addams.
What?
No.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'll have to figure it out.
I've met him a couple times. I've stood
sorry.
as close as you are to... He's one of 2 politicians I've ever donated money to in my life. No. I walked up to him. I met him face to face in a meet and greet. And then one other time in a thing
he had a little bit of bad breath.
No, he didn't. Residential area that I was in, that my mother lives in, and they were doing a political thing there, and I just happened to be standing next to him because, well, I'm Ryan Campbell, and I said, at that time he was the only politician I'd ever donated money to, and I told him that, and he said, thank you, I appreciate it, and we shook hands, and that was it. But you're not going to go.
You donated money to Ted Cruz.
I will loft this ball over to your side of the court with the softest serve that I possibly can. Find a better constitutional scholar in the U.S. Senate in either party. Pick one.
I'll get back to you.
Yeah, I'll wait.
No, because that merits discussion and that merits
He's argued before the Supreme Court 9 times.
I will say I don't think that Amy Barrett is the best choice. And I know that Trump said, a la Joe Biden, that he was going to nominate a woman. I don't think she's the best choice.
Okay.
I think we should wait.
Can we talk about that a second?
I also don't think she's the best choice.
Okay. I'm not arguing that she is or isn't. I really don't know. I don't know if she's the best choice or not. Can we talk about I'm going to pick a woman this time, or I'm going to pick a fill-in-the-blank minority for this particular position this time? And Biden was guilty of it, and so is Trump here in this. And right. I'm being as fair as I possibly can be.
No, it's valid.
Biden's VP choice had to be a woman and a woman of color. Well, you're kind of painting yourself into a corner there.
He is, however, I feel like if he had taken away, he did box himself in. Mm-hmm. I feel like if he had taken that away, Harris might still have been the best candidate.
She could have been in the top.
She
was probably top 3 to 5 anyway.
Probably better than he is.
Yes.
Well, yeah.
Any of the original 16 that were ran for that office is better than he is.
So I feel like he may have known from the beginning that she was going to be his choice, and so he was able to lay that out and play it up.
He didn't know that. His handlers knew that.
Oh my God! Are we going there?
Mm-hmm.
Are we going there? Because
yes.
Have you seen Trump recently?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm totally good with it. Totally good with it.
Seriously?
So, yeah, 100%.
I wish we could play stuff without knowing it. Like, I don't know if we'd get in trouble, but my God, his stump speeches the last couple of days.
I'm totally good with him.
Have you listened to him?
He knows what he's doing.
Have you listened to him?
Yes. And he's torquing the media, and he's torquing the liberals, and he's having fun doing it. And every time he says something nuts, I'm like, yes, thank you for saying that, because I know what's going to happen. The next day, all the memes...
the white rabbits are going to be like, yes, he's saving children.
And all the memes are going to be, oh, he's going to send us off to war and do all this other kind of crap. So
no, it's not that. It's like, what the hell is wrong with him?
Yeah, they believe that. And he does that on purpose. And I can't believe we're 4 years into his administration and nobody's woken up to it yet. He's doing it on purpose. It's not an accident. He knows how to garner attention. He's, as we talked about in the last episode, a narcissist. If he's that big of a narcissist, then I promise you he knows how to get attention.
He is gaslighting the entire
He's
country.
Gaslighting.
Speaking of attention, mm-hmm. Candace Owens just came out with a book in the past week, Blackout.
You discovered Candace Owens recently.
No, I've known about Candace Owens for a while.
Yeah, but we just started discussing her today or yesterday.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, I will say I have not read an excerpt of her book. Here's me on my high horse.
Go ahead.
Bitching about Amazon.
Fire away.
They only want you to listen to audible samples. I wanted to read a sample of her book, and they don't let me read a sample of her book.
Be kind to Amazon right now. My book is coming out soon. I don't want them to squash me. Okay?
Bezos.
Okay. Massive shout out. Ryan Campbell has a book coming out.
I thought you were going to say massive shout out to Bezos.
No.
I was like, fuck that.
Okay. All right. I put like 5 commas at the end of that. Now we can go ahead and back on subject. Yeah. Candace Owens.
Yeah, so she's one of the big bad wolves in the liberal world. We all hate her, and I know anytime she writes anything or says anything, mm-hmm. it gets lambasted in the liberal world.
Good word.
I decided to actually listen to her and read her, and granted I couldn't read an excerpt of her book because Amazon wouldn't let me, mm-hmm. but I did read about her, and I listened to her for a while today, and I was actually really impressed by her, which shocked me. Mm-hmm. She grew up in a very liberal household, And you've also known a little about Candace. She was raised by her grandfather.
Yes, she was.
And she was actually the victim of a hate crime in high school. I
don't know that she was raised in a liberal household. She was raised in a African-American Southern household prior to, by a grandfather that encountered real Jim Crow law,
So according to her today, what I listened to, she
not the bullshit we hear about today. He encountered real racism.
So anyway,
listening.
She said that she was raised in a liberal household, a Democrat household, because that's what, in her words, blacks were taught to adhere to. Mm-hmm. She was the victim of a hate crime, and she talks about how she hates the word victim. But it was really interesting to listen to her take and to listen to her talk about the loss of control and that whole process, and that she herself was a liberal until like 2 or 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. And that she started questioning. And the more she started questioning, the more she started coming to terms with how wrong things were. It was fascinating. There were some things that I listened to that when she talked, I was like, oh, honey, come back to us in a decade. Because she is only 29. And so there were some things I was super impressed by. And there were some things that I was like, oh, you need a little life experience before you talk about that.
Right.
But I was really surprised. It actually made me think I might get you to buy the book.
Oh, get me to buy the book? Wait a minute. How'd this work out? How did I get suckered into this? I got to buy the book? Can we listen to it? Can we listen to it on Audible? Can we compromise on that? Can we come together on that?
No, we read books.
We got to write.
Your thoughts on Candace Owens?
Okay, so Candace Owens went to go live with her grandparents in Fayetteville, North Carolina at a young age with her siblings, was raised by the grandfather who did encounter some real Jim Crow, old school type racism. Raised up in through all that, and in her book, I read it's on. I read the introduction of it this morning very early because I couldn't sleep. Talks about how originally a lot of the African Americans that were freed slaves in the late 1860s were Republicans because Abraham Lincoln had been the emancipator and he'd been a Republican, and they were in the South. And then that all changed with Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who didn't quite say it the same way Trump said it, but he said he said the same thing in a different way, kind of the "what have you got to lose" kind of situation. And everybody was in the Great Depression, and pretty much everybody was all in on FDR. So flash forward then to LBJ, and the legislation that he passed, having previously been a segregationist senator, I might add. Flash forward from that to now, African Americans are predominantly Democrat because of FDR and LBJ. I'm paraphrasing here, and Brendan Bush is going to check my math on all this shit, but this is super paraphrasing. I'm cutting
shout out to Brendan Bush.
Shout out to Brendan Bush. Yes, massive
We may circle back to that, but keeping us honest.
He does. He checks us all the time. And
Love it.
It's my friends that keep me honest too, because they like you more than they like me.
I know.
Okay, so I'm super paraphrasing here, and I'm kind of trying to save time and whatever else. But because of all that, to this day, you still have a major voting block of African Americans voting Democrat. She is of the opinion, as am I, that we're to the point now where you see all these states and cities, Baltimore, Cleveland, Detroit, that have been ran by Democrats and populated by African Americans for 50 to 60 years that are still in poverty. The war on poverty has done as much good as the war on drugs has. And what have you got to lose by, at least for one voting cycle, at least for 1 2-year midterm, hell, do it during the off years or something. Vote a different way one time so that you're not taken for granted, because I promise you, because I have been in on campaigns, the African American vote is taken for granted by the Democrats. I have heard that conversation had by more than one candidate. So what have you got to lose by one time going and voting a different way?
My thought with that is,
go ahead.
Things actually matter on a local level as much or more as a federal level.
Sure, absolutely they do.
And the wheels turn slowly.
Right.
So one term might not be enough. I did really admire her independent thinking. I did when I was listening to some of her podcasts with different people. I did like that she admitted that she was always learning, that she could be wrong. Mm-hmm. And she's right. The Democrats take that vote for granted.
Big time.
They do. And so when someone of a demographic that has long been taken for granted thinks differently, they get attacked. And I think she's been attacked by the liberal left. And I've been part of that. And I've always thought I disliked her. But when I listened to her today in context, I was actually very impressed.
Right.
Like I said, except for a couple of things. Like when she talks about the environment and abortion, I was like, oh,
right.
No.
There are some things.
But those are single issues.
Sure. Those are single issue voters.
But when she was, but when she was speaking, I was so just in awe of her intelligence with what she was speaking about and how different it was than what has been portrayed.
As far as the, like you said, the abortion and some of the other stuff, some issues, some issues, I feel like you need to have been married at least once and have no less than 2 kids before you get to have an opinion on that. It's kind of...
with abortion, you can have a uterus.
No, I'm not talking about abortion. I'm talking about just stuff in general. Like, you need to have to know what it's like to...
Have life experience.
Have life experience. Have to make a mortgage payment, and you need to have struggled for a little bit.
And I will say, as she was saying things that I was like, "Oh, honey," she actually acknowledged, "I don't know," and that was refreshing.
That takes courage to say,
and that was refreshing.
I wish, honestly, the last politician I heard say, "I don't know." I'm going from memory here. But what I think the last politician I heard say that when they were running for office was Jesse Ventura, when he was running for governor of Minnesota. Again, Brendan Bush, your state. It was kind of one of those things. He said, "I don't know, but I'll find out." When they asked him.
And I love that because so often we don't know the answer, but we have the capability to find out.
I don't remember who his opponents were, but one of them was very, very much establishment, like Rockefeller type Republican.
Right.
And the Democrat guy was also equally ensconced in their party. You're talking about 2 major name brand last names that were running, and he beat both of them.
Yeah.
So that was, but he
That's
said,
refreshing.
"I don't know."
Honesty is refreshing, especially in politics.
If you don't know.
In everyday life, but especially in politics.
There's a lot I don't know, and it starts with math.
Wait, you don't know things?
Math. Yeah. I saw the funniest meme today. Yeah. It was like math in class was like 5 + 5 = 10, right? Math homework is like all this super long, drawn out
calculus
problem. And that's where I went wrong. Yes. That's where I went off the rails. So badly. But what you got on your radar? What else is up? What's going on in the world?
So I know you don't want to talk about Joe Rogan a lot. I know.
I love Joe Rogan, but I feel like we talk about him every episode.
I know, but I have been fascinated by, and it goes to a bigger issue.
You're at the stage I was like 4 years ago.
Dude, I'm going to kick you under this table. I'm going to kick you right now.
Go ahead.
I am fascinated by the cancel culture because...
Oh, Spotify. Yes, good call.
Yes, because Joe Rogan recently went to Spotify. Spotify's stock went up like 20 some odd %.
A lot.
Yeah, because he is the biggest podcaster in the history of podcasting. Yeah. And now the employees of Spotify want to have editorial control over him.
Right.
Because he has said some things that are controversial. He has had controversial guests on. And I am livid about the cancel culture.
Right.
And the correct culture, because I don't know when we decided that people who have different opinions than us don't deserve a voice.
Right.
But I am really disturbed by that. And I see it far more often from my own people, that if someone says something that we disagree with, they should be silenced. And I am not okay with that. And so the Joe Rogan thing for me exemplifies that. The fact that they want him either off Spotify or they want him muzzled by their own opinions. And yeah, I am like, Joe Rogan, take yourself away from Spotify because people will follow you.
Right.
And screw Spotify. If they can't stand up for freedom of speech. And normally I'm like, oh, you agreed to the terms and conditions, F off. But Spotify brought Joe Rogan on knowing that he interviews everyone, and he gives everyone a platform, whether it's Bernie Sanders or Milo, whatever his name
Yiannopoulos.
is. Thank you. He gives everyone a platform.
Ben Shapiro or Republican. I'm blanking on the freaking name again. Horrible. Republican congressman with the Navy SEAL with the eye patch, who's literal.
Are you kidding? I had his.
I know.
Earlier, Dan Bradshaw. Dan whatever. Crenshaw.
Dan Crenshaw. He's like Dan Crenshaw, as well as Bernie Sanders, as well as Cornel West.
And the cancel culture, the ability to try to cancel this man out for having people that they disagree with is astonishing to me.
So here's my opinion on that. I don't know why the CEO of Spotify even
doesn't tell them to eat sand.
First off, I would line them up and say, who has a problem with Joe Rogan? Everybody that raised their hand, you'd be unemployed by noon that day.
Because there are 10 people who want to take your place.
Every one of them is replaceable. It's kind of like playing professional sports. Throw a fit if you want to, but there's a college kid somewhere faster than you are.
Exactly.
There's a high school senior somewhere that's as good at your job as you are, or better.
And it's not just Joe Rogan.
And would do it wearing a tutu.
Yeah, and it's not just Joe Rogan. Like, when we cease to let people who have different opinions than ourselves speak.
There's that, and there's the, I get to tell my boss, and this is again me bashing professional sports. This is the athlete getting to tell the owner how they're going to run the show, or how they're going to do the thing. And Spotify, this is Spotify employees telling the CEO, we don't agree with this, and you should cancel and not pay him the money and all that. If my stock just went up and I just made another $1 billion, and I've got some dude with a degree in something that knows how to do IT that is as replaceable as water, he'd be unemployed. I wouldn't put up with it, not for a second.
But on a bigger
you wouldn't have to do it
philosophical...
Honestly, you wouldn't have to fire more than about 3 of them.
No, but on a bigger scale, we do not cancel out people who disagree with us. Because if we do that, it's kind of the end of civilization. And we have become what we hate.
Right.
And so I am really against that. And when I hear that, it makes me furious.
So what I have heard the most disagreement about with Rogan, and again, I really wish we need to have an episode. We need to have a Rogan-free episode.
I know. But he was indicative of a larger problem.
Right. So the issue of the trans issue, the only thing that Rogan has ever said himself about trans anything was that biologically born men should not then go through puberty and then compete in women's sports because of the amount of testosterone that gets pumped into their body naturally, completely naturally. The bone density, the fast twitch muscles, all of that.
Well, and he's in accordance with a lot of international sports organizations.
And he's an MMA commentator, and so you take a person that was born a biological male and then at the age of 20 identifies as female, gets into the ring with a 20-year-old female.
Right.
Guess who's going to win? Let me call that shot for you from a long way off. So other than that, he doesn't really give a shit.
He has given platforms to people who might have controversial views.
Yeah, Alex Jones.
Well, actually, I was thinking of the doctor who addressed trans...
Yes, that one. I can't think of her name, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and that's one of the ones that I think the Spotify employees have had the most issues with. But again, I think we don't cancel out people who have different opinions than ourselves.
I agree with that 100%. And I also, but my statement to the employee does not tell the employer how we're going to run things.
And see, you're looking at a pragmatic side, and I'm looking at an ethical side.
Yeah, but I went to the Dana Scrivener's Shaker Drive Mobile School of Business. You don't tell the owner of the business how you're going to do things. You do what you're told.
And see, if you're taking bigger picture, you don't take away freedom of speech, because right now it might be somebody you disagree with. Tomorrow it may be you.
It's going to be somebody else, right?
It may be you.
But again, I got to say, if you're working for the man and you're taking that paycheck,
oh, fuck the man.
You're missing my point here, or maybe I'm not being clear. If I'm working for you and you say these are the rules and this is what I got to do, I don't get to come to your office and make demands to who you do business with.
13% unemployment, you don't get to decide.
Oh, no. I would, you wouldn't have to replace that many of them. Make an example of about 10 of them. I promise you the BS would stop. But
I agree. He's making the money hand over fist. And he's also truly got people from every side of the equation. So,
he does. He's a wide audience. He's the biggest podcaster in the history of podcasting. And
I have been getting on my high horse a lot. That's the one that I feel really strongly about. I see cancel culture.
You kind of look good sitting up on that white horse. It's a cool view of you. Yes, yeah.
I'll take it.
Looking down. It's like the meme somebody sent me today of the how Target shoppers look at Walmart.
Wait, are you saying you're a Target shopper?
You're a Target shopper, looking down your nose at Walmart shoppers.
What's going on in your world besides this?
A couple things. The project that I initially started on a few years ago in right-of-way, which I love, by the way, but I love my day job. Very fortunate in that respect. Finally got federal approval. It's the high-speed rail between Dallas and Houston, and the only people that are against it are some of the politicians in between and some of the landowners.
Why are they against it?
Some of the landowners.
Well,
eminent domain. There's that.
Yeah.
And some of the politicians are martyring themselves. And yes, my name is Ryan Campbell, and I said you're martyring yourselves on that issue because they were started off as county judges and now they're in the state legislature.
Why would they be against high speed or whatever?
It's going from Houston to Dallas. They think they don't need it because there's already I-45 and there is Southwest Airlines.
Have they ever been on I-45?
They have not at Thanksgiving.
Okay, because that is not high speed.
Now here's where it gets touchy. You do have to go across private property at some point. You're going to have to go talk to the landowner, and that's part of my job. Here's the part that I can talk about a little bit more now that I'm no longer on that project. About a third of the landowners that I talked to were okay with it. And that's everybody thought, no, 100% of them were going to be against it and nobody would ever. I had about a third of my landowners, and I had about 50 landowners total. About a third of them were ready to either sell out and leave because they were second and third generation landowners. They wanted the money. They wanted to move out. About a third after that would at least negotiate with you.
They were open to it.
And about a third after that were dead set against it. So you've got a very, very vocal portion of the people that are, you can't take our land. And I understand if it were my family farm and they've been there. And there are some cemeteries that they're going to have to deal with and some road crossings and some other things like
cemeteries that. Cemeteries are big.
Yeah, cemeteries are a big deal. I understand. I'm not bashing your stance. I'm just saying that, honestly, this should have been dealt with 50, 60 years ago when they did the interstate system. And realistically, I think they could use the I-45 corridor for this. But I think there are other reasons at play why they're not using that.
Why couldn't they go side by side? Because
I personally believe they can.
In Colorado, that's what they're doing. I
personally believe they can. And the BS reason that I was given was, and I don't believe this at all, was you got to have the corridor for the railroad itself that takes up X amount of yards wide. And let's just say for easy math that it's 20 yards wide. You need an additional 20 yards on the other side of that for repair trucks and things like that too.
What's magical about Texas that's not required in Colorado?
It's not required in Colorado. It's not required in New York. It's not required in Chicago. It's not required
Colorado,
in Washington, D.C.
It's shockingly popular.
It's not required in Japan, right? So and let me get to Japan. Remind me to get back to Japan in just a second. I'm of the opinion that it's another one of these, this is Texas, so let's take up 200 yards of right-of-way when we only need 5. I really think they could probably put that thing up the median of I-45 and get everything they need to accomplish with very few exceptions. Maybe have to tweak a few, maybe have to buy some land here and there, maybe have to deal with a few landowners, maybe have to go over or under something. But they didn't want to do it that way.
So question.
Sure.
How fast could you get to Dallas from Houston?
That train is capable of going 200 miles an hour.
Okay, so how fast could you get to Dallas?
Ballparking, 90 minutes.
That's awesome.
It would be awesome.
Because if you have driven from Houston to Dallas,
it's not going to. You're not getting there in 90 minutes.
Yeah.
So what I would like to see,
that's like a 4-hour drive.
What I would like to see Texas
without
traffic. What I would like to see Texas do is run that train up the I-45 corridor up to Dallas-Fort Worth from Houston, and then run it back down the I-35 corridor down to Austin and then San Antonio, and then another one over the I-10 corridor back to Houston, but create a triangle. And do all this in a reasonable amount of time. I mean, like 10 years. Do it quick.
Yeah.
And then Texas could host its own Olympics, its own World Cup, do all that on its own.
You do not want the Olympics, Texas, because are you kidding me?
Well, the last
you do
time,
not want the World Cup?
The problem with the United States holding the World Cup or the Olympics is it's too big geographically. So you've got a game in New York and a game in LA.
Okay.
In Texas, you would be in the one time zone.
Back up. You do not want to host either of those things because if you look at historically the stadiums for World Cup, they get wasted. Well, I think in Brazil right now, a handful of them are prisons, but they're falling apart. They've decimated neighborhoods. They've destroyed generations.
If only somebody had already thought of this, where you have Houston that's full of stadiums, Dallas is full of stadiums, Austin has the TU stadiums, College Station is in between them.
I have been to the World Cup stadiums.
San Antonio has stadiums. I mean, they're already there.
No, they want shiny. No, they want shiny new stadiums.
No, you don't give it to them.
Have you seen the World Cup? And no, they want shiny new stadiums.
I haven't.
No,
not going to do it. Speaking of Houston, it's underwater right now.
Yeah, enough about Texas. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Houston flooded again, and guess what? It wasn't global warming.
My mom said she was high and dry, so I'm hoping she's meant
north of Houston.
Yeah,
isn't
I'm hoping that she just meant that she was above water.
Right.
Hi, Mom. But yeah, Houston is underwater again. So
well, when you're 3 feet above sea level,
that happens.
A 4-inch rain happens.
That being said, it's still tragic for all the people there, and my thoughts and prayers go out to all the people there because
I get that. I understand.
It's poor urban planning, but it's not the fault of the people
It's not global warming. It's poor urban planning. When you pour concrete over a cow pasture, that cow pasture can no longer absorb water.
Are we going to talk about global warming? Because we're at 36 minutes already.
I'm good.
Okay.
No.
We can circle back to that.
I'm just saying.
We can stick a pin on it.
When there's mall rooftops and parking lots made out of asphalt that don't absorb water.
It's like New Orleans. If you're under sea level, bad things are going to happen. I get that. Doesn't make it less tragic for the people that are there.
And I'm quoting Paris Hilton here, but the struggle is real.
Oh, my God. We saw a video the other day.
We did.
Actually, we saw an ad for a video the other day about Paris Hilton's struggle. I can't even.
Right?
If we're going to go basic bitch, I can't even.
I don't even know what she was struggling about. I forgot what it was.
I don't know.
What was the thing that she was struggling
I don't care.
for or with or something?
I don't care.
But, I mean, she was saying the struggle is real. And then,
ask me what I care less about.
And Melissa Milano.
There you go.
Thank you. Calling the cops.
Okay, so I know she's anti-police.
Yep.
She wants to defund the police.
Yep.
She apparently called the police because she thought that there was an active shooter on her property. Mm-hmm. And on one hand, I can be sympathetic because she had a stalker who was actually put in prison for coming onto her land, her private property, and threatening her and her family.
Right.
I can be sympathetic for that. However, if you are for defunding the police, you do not get to call the police because that is the height of privilege. So, usually an Alyssa Milano fan, all the way back to Who's the Boss.
I was in those days. And the movie Commando with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
What? Yeah, she was in a movie?
She was in... Oh, you don't know this? Oh, my God, you are so not a dude. Oh, my God, I can't believe... Oh, my God.
Did you have an Alyssa Milano poster?
I did not. In the movie Commando, which was Arnold Schwarzenegger's answer to Rambo... She played his daughter, and she gets kidnapped because they need to use her to force Schwarzenegger to go do some stuff, to go assassinate somebody or something.
Oh, my God.
You've never seen this?
No.
This is a movie that's so bad that it's good. And
the fact that it's called Commando gives me pause.
It was an answer to Rambo. See how they both rhyme?
Commando.
And they came out within, I don't know, maybe 9 months to a year of each other.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, poor Schwarzenegger.
Rambo First Blood Part 2 was the biggest movie of 1985, bar none.
How do you know that?
I do not question me on anything related to 1985.
You were like 13.
Hey. Okay? Kansas City won the World Series. The Bears won the Super Bowl. That's the only year. You go either side of that, I'm out. But 1985, I'm all about. All right. within a year of that,
I wish y'all could see our faces right now.
Commando comes out, and it was Schwarzenegger. He had a big knife, just like Rambo, big machine guns, the whole 9 yards. Yeah.
But it was called Commando.
Yes. She was his daughter in the movie.
I'm sorry, but I can't take anything seriously that's called Commando.
I know. Well, going Commando, yeah.
I know.
Right, I know.
Seriously.
Which I do all the time, by the way.
TMI. Why did you tell people that?
I'm kidding. I don't. Okay. So, some poor kid was shooting squirrels with a pellet gun. She calls the cops. 7 squad units and a helicopter showed up with the fire department parked down the street.
I hope she gave them a big thank you.
I think they need to send her a bill.
And I hope she also
$8,000 to $10,000.
I hope she also takes a little break from social media, including Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Oh, I got to give a massive shout out to somebody.
I know.
Okay.
Do it.
I owe somebody a shout out. So, Kurt and we just met. This just happened.
But I have known him for years.
Right. So, I got to give this some backstory. So, let me say Kurt Frankenberg's name out here real quick of Freedom Martial Arts in Monument, Colorado hooked me up. So, the other day, I have a mouthpiece for my martial arts class so I don't get my teeth knocked out because,
Thank you.
It's a martial arts class. As I was coming in...
I'm not okay with missing teeth.
Through the back door. I know you're not. So, my old mouthpiece came out of my bag, and I believe it is either now or formerly was in the digestive tract of one of the dogs.
I can vouch for that.
Okay. So I needed a mouthpiece because it's a serious business. You, to your credit, thank you very much. Got on the internet, did your thing.
I didn't get on the internet.
You did your due diligence.
No, you were asking where we could buy a mouthpiece,
right. And I was
looking at Colorado
Dick's.
Springs, and I was like, "Oh, I know somebody."
I don't go to Dick's.
Yeah.
Ever.
No, but I was like, I know somebody,
F-bomb
so I texted, and we ended up at Kurt's karate school.
He gave me a mouthpiece. Thank you so much. Massive shout. Okay, so if you want your kids to take martial arts and you live in the Monument, Colorado region, Kurt is your guy.
Actually, I will say my kids went all the way. I think Nate went to a brown belt. I'd have to double check with them. And Grace, I don't remember what she went to, but
Grace is just mean.
Oh, Grace kicked ass. I wish she would have kept with it.
Right.
But they went to school with him for years, and he was amazing. And I forgot until we went back in there last night. I forgot about it. And then we went back in, and I was like, oh.
We need to have him on as a guest. So you told me a story a little bit.
And he's an amazing guy.
We need to have him. We need to put him on the list.
So shout out to Kurt.
If he wants to come sit in the massive, studio that we have.
With a dog drooling on
him. With a dog waiting at the door.
Yeah.
But, But thank you, Kurt, for the mouthpiece. I used it today and got popped in the face several times, and I appreciate it. It's even better.
You came home with all your teeth.
I came home with all my teeth. It's a better mouthpiece than the one that I lost. This one fits better. It really does.
Good.
It's tighter. It keeps things in place better.
And we still have to pick up the pieces of the other one. I'll talk to you about that after.
No, I'm not doing it. Because somebody saw it laying on the ground and didn't bother to tell me. I'm not naming names. There it was. So... You got anything else?
I have a ton.
Go ahead. Fire something at me.
Really?
Yeah.
Because we've been gone for a while.
I don't care. Throw it at me.
You want to talk about voter fraud?
We can, because here's the deal. I'm not going to... We're going to be off schedule here a little bit. Oh, I'm going to be gone for a little bit. I'm going on an excursion. I'll talk about when I get back.
Oh, do I get to do this alone?
You can either do it alone, but don't misunderstand anything, though. Robyn's going to have the Glock 19 all to herself, and she will unzip your ass. I'm just letting you know.
No, zip up.
Zip up.
Tim taught.
Yeah, that's Tim taught. Unzip, zip up, whichever.
Yeah.
She'll start at your crotch and end at your nose, and I'm telling you, there's going to be 19 or 20 shots in between. It's going to happen. I'm telling you. I've seen it. So, what do you got?
Voter fraud?
Throw it at me. Go.
You want to talk about voter fraud?
If you want to.
So, I don't think it's a real thing. And
you don't.
You do.
Of course.
So, I'm curious.
Well, you know what a big fan I am of Lyndon Johnson's.
You have something downstairs. You have your mail-in ballot downstairs, right?
No. My real mail-in ballot. That thing downstairs is fake.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't check. I didn't open your mail because that's a
felony. I don't even need to open it. It's one of those things where and both parties do this.
You should check that. You should just throw it away. Like, don't check it.
No, I already
just
know.
throw it away.
I already know.
Yeah, don't even look at it.
They send you mail that looks like it's
I got one of those this spring from the Republican Party.
It's really a fundraiser?
Yeah, it was impressive.
Yeah.
It was impressive.
Yeah. So, no. Voter fraud does happen. It happens on both sides of the aisle. It happens in both parties, and it depends on which jurisdiction you're standing in. But because you asked about this and because we decided to talk about it, and I didn't have as much time today to deal with it as I wanted to.
Oh, I did.
I just went to I know you did. That's why you have baited me into this particular landmine. I know that's why you brought it up.
Go.
2012. I'm just using 2012 as an example, which was Obama's re-election against Romney, which I, quite frankly, in retrospect, now, glad Romney didn't win. Looking back on it,
Continue.
Okay. So, in Ohio, in several counties in Ohio, 1 out of every 5 registered voters were ineligible to vote.
Explain that.
Meaning they had irregularities on their ballot or on their voter registration card.
Like their signature, which could be just changed from age.
Or they were dead, or they had moved away, or any number of other things. Okay.
And where did you source that from?
That was... Shit, I didn't take my notes. That was from the Columbus... hang on a second. This is from... Is Columbus, Ohio? What's the other big cities in Ohio? Cincinnati is Columbus.
Are there big cities in Ohio?
Newspaper in Ohio, Columbus, the newspaper there. I was up at 4 this freaking morning doing this. Do you know how long of a day this has been?
Yes, I do.
And you've given me alcohol since then. So, in 2 counties in Ohio during that election, and at that time...
And what did that translate to?
Give me a minute. In that election, it was all about Ohio. So much so that I heard a congressman, I'm not going to name names, a congressman say that they thought the Trump election was going to hinge entirely on Ohio. Now, they were completely wrong on that one, but in 2012, it was right. In Ohio, 2 counties, more people voted Democrat than there were registered voters in that county.
So I will say ineligible voters. Mm-hmm. I was actually deemed an ineligible voter because I was Robyn, and my middle name and my last name. And then I was also Robyn with just my last name. Mm-hmm. I'm still the same person, but they deemed me ineligible. I had to prove who I was. So I think that's a little overblown. And also in looking at, because I did a little bit of research too, and in looking at it with mail-in ballots, there's actually more likely to be fraud with in-person ballots than mail-in. Mail-in ballots, with 2 million mail-in ballots, there have been 143 indictments. That, if you look statistically, that is and get your pen out so you can...
No.
0.00000...
Right.
6% fraud.
That's because they don't indict in the rearview mirror unless it's politically expedient. And I gave you the example last time of the person that I know was offered votes.
That's anecdotal with no facts.
That was
That's somebody saying, and somebody else has also said.
I was standing in the room. I saw it.
With the person who said. You didn't see someone carding. And actually... When I was researching,
let me be
and I'm looking
clear.
That
was Robertson County, Texas. I'll bet you my deer rifle it happened.
No,
I'll bet you both of my AR-15s and my Glock 19.
I'm just saying it's anecdotal, and
that's how confident I am that it happened.
I trust that you believe it happened
because
that person said, but you didn't see mail fraud taking place.
Was it mail fraud? It was
in person.
It was a person.
In person.
No, guaranteeing votes. So
guaranteeing in-person votes, guaranteeing buses.
Are on this side of it, and when one political party all of a sudden is all in on, we need all mail-in ballots this year, we over here are going, I wonder why.
But I'm saying statistically, if you look at
Why
millions...
can't we just have a regular election?
Because we have a pandemic.
No, we don't. I mean, we do, but everybody's going to Walmart and Target.
We have a pandemic, and there are a lot of people who aren't. Ask Walmart stocks. Ask Target stocks. So, also,
people
when
are
you
going
look
to grocery
at,
stores. People are going out. People are going to
they
back
are,
to their
but they're
jobs.
being careful. And here's the thing: is when the Voter Right Act. I always get that. I can't ever get that name right. When it was dismantled after 2016, polling places were closed. And so where you may have gone in the past and waited for an hour in line, you may now be going and waiting 8 or 9 hours in line. And that...
So who's making that happen?
Seriously? The Republican Party.
So if you are we or you are they, and I'm using air quotes around both of those words.
No, the Republican Party has systematically chipped away at the Voting Rights Act.
I would disagree with the most Republican county I've ever lived in was Brazos County, Texas, and you can't throw a rock in the month leading up to an election without hitting a polling station, either a church, a school, or the courthouse.
Have you been there since 2019? Have you been there since 2018?
2019. I voted there in 2018.
Okay. And
I'm voting differently this year, though.
You're voting by mail.
I am, but I trust that system. I'm not sitting here.
You trust that system?
Yeah.
You trust it to work appropriately?
Yeah. I called the county in Texas that I'm registered in. I spoke to the person. I said, here's why I'm out of state and here's what I'm doing. Completely reasonable conversation. They sent me the information. I filled it out and I've mailed it back and I'm waiting on my ballot. It's not time for my ballot to get here yet. It will be soon. But I didn't feel like at that time there was any shenanigans or anything like that going on.
So why is it okay for you to do it and not someone else?
It's completely okay for me to do it. It's completely okay for anybody that is legitimately out of the area. But the entire population...
But why do you get to decide out of the area?
300 million people all of a sudden need to mail in. Okay.
I'll still go to the ballot. I'll still go to the polling place because I like to go. So I'll still go. There are a large portion of us that will go. However... you should have the option for mail-in.
It's funny to me how 6 months ago or a year ago, before this was even an issue, you couldn't have sold the Postal Service as a viable resource for anything, for anybody, until all of a sudden we need to start mailing in our stuff and Trump wants to change some things or didn't want, and all of a sudden,
voted by mail.
All of a sudden everybody loves the Postal Service and it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. That's complete and total bullshit. The Postal Service is the covered wagon. It is the stagecoach of communication in this modern era.
It is the stagecoach that still takes FedEx's and UPS's packages to the end of the line.
It is only in existence because of UPS and FedEx and all of them.
Because it does the job they can't do.
Only because they already had the Chevy S10s that can go up the little dirt roads and all that. It's not that they can't do it. It's just cheaper to pay somebody else to do it.
At the end of the day, is they don't.
They could if they wanted to.
Do the end of the job.
They could if they wanted to.
So here's the thing, too. Colorado has done mail-in ballots for several years. Colorado has the lowest voter fraud in the country. So
that's probably true.
And again, I'm going to be going to a polling place because I like going. I like standing in line. I like getting my little sticker. I like the whole process.
Oh, yeah. You got to get your sticker.
But I actually don't care about the sticker, and I've forgotten to get it. But I like all that. But if I'm a 70-year-old with a walker, I need a different option. If I'm a 70-year-old in a pandemic with my walker, I need a different option. And when I look at Colorado has the lowest voter fraud in the country, and we historically do mail-in ballots, it's a viable option. And the other thing is, when we look at what is your face?
I'm listening. Go ahead.
What is your face?
Go ahead.
We should look at online voting in the future because if banks can keep our shit safe, the government can.
Because banks never get hacked and they never have.
Okay, banks don't get hacked. Gas stations and debit cards get hacked.
Garmin got hacked.
I'm kidding. But historically, when you look at transactions of banks and hacking, if you take away certain things like Facebook Marketplace and gas stations, banks are very safe. So if you look out in the future, the government has the capacity to do voting in a different way.
So Colorado is not a swing state, not this year anyway. So if you take a Florida or an Ohio or a Pennsylvania or some of the northern tier states.
We couldn't even get our in-person right there.
So all of a sudden, it's super important that we all of a sudden mysteriously trust the Postal Service. The frickin' Postal Service is our savior now over the evil orange man.
So I didn't say that. The Postal Service has gotten all my stuff right. Granted, I have an awesome little Hallmark town.
You live in a very small Hallmark town.
I do.
Where the postal guy literally knows who you are.
I know. I
he
love
knew
him.
who I was the first time he ever met me. That's how small this town is.
We should tell him about a broadcast. Hi, Sonny.
Hey, Sonny. Still need some barbecue. Still need some barbecue. But my point is, all of a sudden, the Postal Service is our savior? No, ma'am. I'm sorry.
I think there should be options. I think the Postal Service is a viable option. I think that we need to get out of our echo chambers and we need to realize
I think you should have a little bit of skin in the game when you vote. I'm sorry. You should have to get out of your house, get out of your car, and go. If you have to stand in line for a few hours, I'm so sorry.
You've said that, but
You're
my friend
only
Erica...
making the most important decision that our country makes every 4 years or 2 years, depending on the congressional
You've
thing.
said that, but I think my friend Erica actually
I bet
dealt
if they
with
were
that
giving
on
away
an
free T-shirts or
Instagram.
pizzas, you'd go stand in line.
No, I think she dealt with that on one of our Instagram posts, but honestly... I don't think that that's a good reason to make people stand in line.
I'm not saying make them stand in line, but if you have to, if there is a line to vote, I'm so sorry. Then don't vote. We make it.
No.
I have seen. I know guys that are voting judges, and I know people that sit in polling stations all day dealing with voters. You come in, you vote, and they do it during early voting. They do it on election day and all of that. I've met those people because I working on campaigns and stuff. How easy are we eventually? I mean, what's the next thing that we're going to have to do? I mean, you got to figure less than what is it? Maybe 50% of the 350 million people in America vote anyway.
Actually, it's less than 20%.
Way less than that. I'm being 20%. Way generous.
And at that point, we're failing. So how do we do better?
I don't think we need to keep making it easier so that more people vote. I think here's the standard. Here's the bar to vote. You need to rise to it, not it come down to you. That's my opinion. Look, you got to vote. You get to vote when you're 18, and in some places they want to make it 16, and they want to let felons vote, and all of that other good fun stuff, and that's great. Okay, do all that.
Oh, we're going to circle back to that.
At what point do you have to take on a little bit of civic responsibility and be able to name your congressman and your 2 senators before you should be able to get to vote in the first place?
So I don't disagree. Everyone should be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I dare say the vast majority of even the people listening to us couldn't do that without going, oh shit, I need to Google. So that's a pretty high bar. We should all rise.
No.
We should.
Oh my God.
No. We should all rise to it. I'm not saying that we shouldn't.
Okay.
We should all rise to it. However, when polling places have been shut down, and I challenge you to go back to Brazos County and see the difference in polling places from 2020 to 2017 or 2018, there's a difference.
That may be true, but you can vote outside of your precinct in Brazos County too. I know that for a fact.
Okay, that's not the same in every state. So when the Voting Rights Act
was... Another example of Texas leading the way then.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yes, dear. So when you see the difference that dismantling that act has made,
mm-hmm.
you have to open other options to people, because when you take away and when people have to go unpaid from work, they have to risk getting in trouble at work, because voting is not something that's covered. Like, you can't say, I'm going to be gone all day because I'm going to be waiting in line at the polling place.
Mm-hmm.
Your boss can say, screw you, you're gone.
Mm-hmm.
It's not protected.
Mm-hmm.
Am I right? Am I right?
Who makes those rules? Again, I got to go back to who makes those rules.
When the Voting Rights Act was dismantled.
Okay. Air quotes around we, air quotes around they. Make those rules.
Right.
You
They're in
are
place
we,
now.
and you are they.
They're in place now.
Yes. To change those rules.
With voting now. So, if voting now means using your stamp, do it. Do it.
If you have to, and I have to this year, I'm voting by mail.
Yes.
Admittedly, I'm voting by mail this year. I've done it one other time. I did it back in the late 90s when I very first moved back to Texas.
And that is a privilege, but it should be a right. It is not the same in every state.
All I had to do was call and ask. It wasn't hard.
It is not the same in every state.
So I'm able to vote, but many times have I stood at a polling place and,
I've stood in line for an hour max.
Dialed the number and done my thing.
But there are people who are standing in line for 16, 18 hours. In the South, there are, because there are counties where there's one polling place with thousands of people. So we need to fix the system. If you're not going to allow mail-in ballots, fix the system. Make it so that people can go and vote without missing work, without getting in trouble at work.
I point to the Texas model again. You've got almost a month of early voting. You can mail in and you can vote on election day.
Everybody move to Texas.
No.
Yeah. Everybody go to Brazos County.
Move to Texas, but
Brazos County.
Don't
vote your conscience.
Don't vote the way you're
like you did in California.
Shithole state.
Oregon.
California.
Washington.
New York. Voted before.
Are we done here?
Is this a subject we're going to have to agree to disagree on? Brendan Bush is going to be, his hands are going to be broken by the time he gets done typing on this.
Brendan, you type away because I am in
we love you.
100% agreement with you.
Part of the reason I say some of the stuff I do is to get a reaction out of Brendan Bush. Swear to God.
And I take my vitamin D, but
all the time.
But I also think Antifa is fake.
No, Antifa
and
is totally real.
And on that note...
Oh, no. You don't get to just say Antifa's fake and then try to do a exit like, oh, okay.
On that note...
No. Mm-mm. God dang it. You with your nose, with your glasses, your look you're giving me right now. Looking at me down your...
My nose?
Your nose with your eyeglasses down your nose. This? That thing, yes.
On that note...
Robyn is correct.
And Ryan is right.
Bye, y'all.
Good night.